How to buy a car under your company's name. Hello everyone and welcome back to Novarise, your channel for financial education. So today we're going to talk about how you can buy a car under your company name so that you can keep everything separated and continue to build your business in the long run. So let's just go straight to the board and begin with item number one. So what is the very first thing you need to keep in mind when it comes to buying a company car? And that is understanding the nature of your business, right? So let's say, for example, just to call out a couple of different businesses. So we have a business in construction. So let's say you have a business in construction. Then we have people who do Uber. And then, why not realtors, right? So these are all three different type of businesses, and the nature of what they do, although they are all businesses, it doesn't necessarily mean they have the same use. So for example, when you think about construction, what is the very first thing that comes to your mind? You're thinking about construction materials, bags of cement, wood beams, heavy items, big items that require space. So in order to carry all of those spacious items, so to speak, you will need a big car. So call it a van, call it a pickup truck. You wouldn't necessarily buy a Ferrari, for example, because I mean, if I had one, it would be even painful for me to imagine putting wood beams in there and then damage the car seats, right? So not to say that you won't take care of your pickup truck or anything, but pickup trucks and vans are built for that nature. Same thing if you're driving an Uber, right? So if your business is all about Ubers, then you want to understand, okay, do I want to do a small vehicle so that I don't have to keep loading up a lot of passengers on it? Or do I want to be able to bring families together and then transport them from point A to point B? And then if that's the case, you will probably need an SUV or a larger vehicle, right? So understanding that nature of what you do and picking the right vehicle so that you can continue to build up your business thanks to that vehicle, it's what's going to matter in this case. Now, item number two for you to consider before buying a company car, it's understanding how much of a commercial use are you going to allocate to that car. So let's say you just call it use, right? So is it going to be 100% for your business, meaning commercial? Or is it going to be mixed? So when it's mixed, you have a personal allocation to it, and you also have a business use to it. So what's the percentage? And that's very important that you understand that, because the IRS requires that for a company to be deducted from your company taxes, from your business taxes, it needs to have at least 50% use for business purposes, okay? And we're eventually going to come back and analyze this, because this is a very important point for you to keep in mind. You have to be able to demonstrate that you have been using that vehicle for at least 50% of the time for business purposes. And how do you prove that, right? So there are applications out there. The most popular is actually Allocate. You can also use QuickBooks, or you can do it old school by keeping a journal in your car, and then you're just writing point A, point B. It took me this long, this amount of mileage. And some other people use Excel, but using an application will be the fastest way to do that and the easiest way. Now, item number three, understanding the weight of the car. This is actually a very key point for you to understand, because depending on the weight, you will be capped at a certain amount in terms of deductions for your company. So the benchmark here will be 6,000 pounds. So is your vehicle under 6,000 pounds, or is it going to be over 6,000 pounds, right? Up to a maximum of 14,000 pounds, okay? On this side of the board. So let's begin with a vehicle under 6,000 pounds. So when you buy a vehicle in this weight range, you get up to 10,100 in deductions in year one, right? But under the Tax Cuts Jobs Act, which was approved under the Trump administration, you can take advantage of a bonus depreciation. So this is the standard, 1 year, year one, 10,100. But if you take advantage of the bonus depreciation, you can take up to $8,000 in depreciation. So when you add these two together, in year one, you can get up to a maximum of $18,100, right? Now, remember that part where I said, oh, keep track of your vehicle usage so that you know the mileage, what percentage was used for personal and what percentage was used for commercial. This is where it comes into play. So let's say, for example, this year you had a total use of 60% for commercial use. So you're going to take this 18,100 and you're going to multiply that by 60%. And that will give you 10,860. So if you use your vehicle up to 60% of the time for commercial use, this is the amount that you were going to be able to deduct in your taxes. If you use it 100% of the time for business use, then you can take up to the maximum $18,100 deduction. Now, for those who are curious about finding out how you can actually allocate 100% commercial use to your vehicle, there's an episode right here that we created a couple of months ago about us buying a company car for Novarise and how we applied a couple of creative tips to allocate 100% business use to the car, even when you're not necessarily using it for business purposes. So check out this episode right here. It's quite interesting, but do it after we're done with this episode, okay? In the meantime, I need you to be here, okay? Now, let's assume that you're on this side of the board, that you, based on your needs, you decided to go with a car that exceeds the 6,000 pounds limit, but, you know, up to 14,000 pounds. So if you are on this side, the deduction that you can take for a vehicle of this size is $25,900 in year one. But because of the Tax Cuts Jobs Act, this is the beautiful part when you get a large vehicle. The bonus depreciation on this side of the equation is unlimited, okay? Unlimited. So that means that you can deduct the entire cost of the vehicle in year one, okay? Deduct the entire cost. This is a great tool and you should take advantage of it because it might not be here by the end of 2022, okay? Things could change, but as of today, it's scheduled to expire at the end of 2022. So if you are planning to buy a company vehicle or if you haven't done that and you're planning to, make sure you do that before the end of 2022. Now, let's say, for example, you didn't know about this. You ended up buying a car on this side of the board. Your car is under 6,000 points. Is it the end of the world? No, of course not. The differences between this side and this side is that here you can take the full depreciation of your car, the entire cost in depreciation in year one. On this side of the equation, it means you're going to have to do it gradually. So in year one, you have up to 18,100. Year two, you have another amount. Year three, you will have another amount. And then year four, you're going to have another amount. Okay, so don't sweat it. Now, point number 4, when buying a company vehicle, your credit, okay? And this is going to be divided into 2 chunks as well. For business under 2 years, and then businesses that have been around longer than 2 years, okay? So let's just start with this side. When your business, it's over 2 years, you typically have proven that, hey, you know what you're doing. At least that's what the lender's hoping, right? When your business is over 2 years old, you have proven that you can withstand the test of time, that you managed to stay afloat for 2 years and stuff. And generally, you would have probably built business credit at this point. If you haven't, make sure you create a profile under the DMB or the Dun & Bradstreet so you can build up your business credit for your company. If you already have one, that's excellent news. So make sure you pay attention to your Dun & Bradstreet profile, make sure your credit is strong and all of the stuff. And if you can, build the credit report. You can easily print that out on the DMB website so that you can actually, leverage your business credit and remove the debt from your personal profile, right? Now, if your business has been around less than 2 years, it's not the end of the world, but it's going to require, a little bit of creativity on your end. So what happens is when a company is under 2 years old, you are going to need to add as a guarantor of the company. Why? So think of it as a child, right? So when a child is little and he gets into trouble, what do they call their parents? Their parents are responsible for whatever bad behaviors that they're pulling up. If a child needs a little bit of discipline, they call the parents. If a child needs to be taught, manners, they call the parents. So it's the same thing here. The company, when it's less than 2 years old, it doesn't really have a history of business or anything. So by default, they're going to have to rely on you as the president of the company or the business owner of the company. You're going to have to act as a guarantor. And then that's when your personal credit comes into place. So before you even consider going to a car dealership, take a look at your credit first to see how strong it is. Does it need a little bit of improvement so that you can, qualify for the best rates possible when it comes to financing the car? What else do you need, right? Then once you kind of like get an idea where you stand and you know your credit is strong, now you need to get a hold of the copies of the credit report, right? So that could be Experian, that can be Equifax, whatever you name it, but you have to bring your credit reports to the dealership. Why? I've heard tons of stories about people walking into dealerships having no idea what a credit is or where their credit stand, yada, yada. And the dealership, sometimes they're not honest. Sometimes what they will tell you is, oh, well, I could qualify you for whatever rate possible. It doesn't matter if you have any credit or not. And all I need to do is to do one simple pull. Well, that one simple pull, it's a pull that will send out requests to 10 different lenders out there. So little did you know that on that one simple pull, you already got your credit pull 10 times, okay? So it's important that you know where you stand with your credit. You are gonna go visit the dealership, take a look at your potential car. If you're interested, you say, hey, these are copies of my credit report. I would like to get the car financed under my company name. I will be acting as the guarantor. What rates do you think I can get? And if they have a business department, make sure you go straight to them so that way you can just, cut to the chase and explain them what you're looking for, which is to finance a car under your company because you want to buy the car under your company name, right? And that's how you start, shopping around. Don't authorize a credit pull unless you are 100% sure that that's the car that you want to get and that's the dealership that you want to deal with. Because once you sign the paperwork, guess what? You're going to marry to them for the next 5 years or so. Why? Because that's how long a car loan usually lasts. So make sure that you know for a fact that, hey, this is the car and this is the dealership I want to deal with. And then you go ahead and you authorize one pull, one lender, not multiple lenders, okay? Now, one thing I need to clarify, regardless of whether you're getting a credit under your personal name as a guarantor of the company because it's been around less than 2 years, or whether you are going to get it strictly under your company's credit history, you by default will still have your credit pull because that's just the way things work, right? This is still your company, but you're still responsible for it. And same thing over here. The key difference is that if your business is under 2 years, the debt of that car loan is going to go under your personal, under your FICO credit history. But if your business has been around for over 2 years and it has established business history, then that loan, that debt that you're taking out for the car is going to be completely under the company's profile and it will not appear on your FICO. Now that you know this, let's just move on to the last part, and that is, what is it that you need to bring to the car dealership at the moment of purchase? But before I do that, if you're enjoying this episode, make sure you hit the like button right here so you can help this episode rank and help others like you who are looking for information on this kind, and do that while I'm cleaning up the board. What is it that you need to bring, right? So here's the list of documents that you need to bring. 1, your ID, of course. They need to prove who you are, and that's the way to do it. 2, copies of your credit report. And then that could be Equifax, that could be Experian, and that can also be TransUnion. Now, if you have no idea where you can get copies of those credit reports, there's an episode here that you can check out after this one, of course. In that episode, I actually talked about the 8 steps that you can follow to purchase your first home. And there's a section in particular in that video where I walk you step by step how you can actually log on to the Experian website and pull a copy of the credit report at no cost. And you can even do that for all 3 bureaus through that website at 0 cost. Okay, so make sure you check it out after this video. Now, back to the list. So we have the ID, we have the copies of your credit report. Now, the next thing you're going to do is provide the name of your company, okay? And address of your company, of course, because they need to verify where that is and what's the name of it. Then after that, you're going to provide them with a copy of your EIN number. It could be the EIN letter. And EIN stands for your employer identification number, okay? Then after that, you're going to provide copies of your articles of incorporation, because it is very important that they know that your business is legit, right? And this is the way to do it. There have been instances where people have had businesses, running for a long time, but they never legally registered them. So this is the way to do it, to show the state, whatever state you're doing business in, that this is a legit business, that you already have it registered. So you need to bring this paperwork. Otherwise, they won't finance you without it. So these documents right here that you see, the ID, the copies of the credit report, name and address, EIN, and the articles of incorporation is a must. Now, depending on the dealership, there's a chance that they might ask you for more documents. And those could be the profit and loss statement. They could ask you for the balance sheet. And they can even ask you for bank statements, but not your personal bank statements, but your business bank statements, because they need to see the amount of money that's coming in, the amount of money that's coming out in expenses, just to make sure that you do have liquidity in order to cover the monthly payments of the car. This is what you need pre-receiving the car, meaning before receiving the car. This is what you're going to provide them in order to get qualified for a loan and to get your car ordered and, have it delivered to you. Now, let's say a couple of weeks go by and you're getting ready to pick up the car, right? Your dealership calls you and tells you, hey, we're good to go. You can come and pick up the car. Before you do that, you have to provide them evidence, right? And without them, you will not be able to pick up your car. And so at that point in time, what you need to do is to provide them the insurance. The insurance has to be under the company name. Now, I know sometimes business owners, in an attempt to save money, they end up buying the insurance under personal name to insure that company vehicle. You can't do that in this case, because if you're buying under the company name, you have to put everything under the company name. It's like when you invest in real estate, right? You want to keep everything separate, everything under your LLC, and then keep your personal separate, because that way you don't want to commingle everything. You can prove that you are treating your business as it is a business professionally. And that way you keep the liability off of each other, because the last thing you want is to get into a car accident and then have that company car be a liability, not only to your business, but also to your personal assets, and vice versa. So it's very important that these two are under your company name. While I still have you here, make sure you check this episode on the side to help you complement everything you had just learned today. And until then, take care. Bye-bye.